So we're going to talk about meiosis and the sexual life cycle. So if you recall, meiosis is a form of cell division that results in gametes, and in living environment we spelled it M-E sperm egg cis. So here are your curricular connections, your enduring understandings. And remember that living organisms all have that key characteristic, the life characteristics of reproduction. So genetics is how we study that, and heredity is the transmission of traits from one generation to the next. And of course, variation is demonstrated by the differences in appearance that show from parents and siblings, between parents and siblings or members of the same species. So here we have a family. Note there are some similarities and some differences. Notice the noses in the children. Similar nose. And this one has a similar nose to her dad. Hair color similar as here. So even though they look similar to their parents, they also look different from their parents. So literally, children do not inherit traits from their parents, but they inherit genes, which I hope is not a surprise to you. So genes, of course, are our unit of heredity. They're made up of segments of DNA. They're passed from generation to generation via our gametes, which would be our sperm and our egg, or if you were a plant, it could be considered pollen. And each gene is going to have a specific location called a locus on a certain chromosome. And most of our DNA is going to be packaged into chromosomes. So our various genes are going to be present at various loci, or loci, depending on who you're talking to, on those chromosomes. So remember that in asexual reproduction, we only have one individual. That individual can pass its genes on to its offspring without the fusion of gametes, so it results, of course, in genetically identical offspring. That happens in things like unicellular budding, multicellular budding, binary fission, regeneration, things like that. So a clone is going to be a group of genetically identical individuals from the same parent. So remember that while asexual reproduction can result in clones, there's also a genetic engineering process which also can result in clones. It is not a natural form of reproduction. In sexual reproduction, you have two parents, and they give rise to offspring that have unique combination of genes that have been inherited from each of the parents. So remember, each parent contributes half of the chromosomes, which will result in a unique individual. So here we have a hydra. Here is the parent, this larger individual, and the smaller individual popping off of it is a bud, or the younger individual, the baby. And here we have redwood trees, and then the offspring of a redwood tree, which would be the smaller one here. And redwoods are sexual reproducers. So, fertilization and meiosis alternate in sexual life cycles. So life cycle is generation to generation, the sequence of stages in the reproductive history of an organism. That's how we're defining it here. So we're specifically talking about sexual lifestyles. So remember that human body cells, which we refer to as somatic cells, are always going to have 23 pairs of chromosomes, meaning they have 46 chromosomes. And a karyotype is when we take a picture, essentially, of those pairs, and we order them from largest to smallest and put the sex chromosomes last. 2 chromosomes in each pair are going to be called homologous chromosomes, or, because scientists like to shorten everything, we can also call them homologs, which is infinitely easier to say. So remember that those homologous chromosomes, or the homologs, are going to have the same length, the same shape, and carry the same genes, which are going to control the same inherited characters. So here is a picture of a karyotype, which you should be quite familiar with from our lab. Is this individual male or female? This individual has an X and a Y chromosome. So this individual is male. And then see the computer screen here, rather than cutting out little pictures, they're actually ordered on a computer screen. It's, the wonders of modern technology. It makes it a lot easier than cutting out the individual chromosomes and pairing them together. Okay, the sex chromosomes, which determine sex, go figure, are the X and the Y. Females have XX, males have X and Y. And everything else that's not a sex chromosome is called an autosome. So an autosome are all of the other chromosomes, or the somatic chromosomes. And each pair of homologous chromosomes include one chromosome from each parent. There are 46 chromosomes in human somatic cells, meaning they have two sets of 23 chromosomes. One set comes from the mother, one set comes from the father. And when a cell has two sets of chromosomes, we call that a diploid cell. We can mathematically represent that by 2n. Remember, n equals the number of sets of chromosomes. So a diploid cell, the prefix di means 2. Ploid refers to the number of sets of chromosomes. So a diploid cell is 2n. And the diploid number for a human is going to be 46. So the haploid number is going to be 23. But we'll get to that soon, I think. In a cell where DNA synthesis has occurred, or the replication of the DNA has occurred, we say that each chromosome is replicated, and each replicated chromosome consists of two identical sister chromatids. So remember, the replicated chromosomes look like the letter X, and each side of the X would be considered a chromatid. So here's the picture. This side right here is a chromatid. This side right here is a chromatid. The chromatids are joined at a centromere, and so this is one pair, or one replicated chromosome. The homologous pairs, remember, are the same shape and size, so we have 3 pairs in this particular chromosome. We know because n equals 3. That's the haploid number, so you get 3 chromosomes from, you get 3 chromosomes from your mom, you get 3 chromosomes from your dad. That makes the diploid number in this organism 6, so 2n equals 6. A gamete, which is our sperm or our egg, is going to contain a single set of chromosomes, or n sets of chromosomes. So the haploid number for humans is 23, n equals 23. Each set of 23 chromosomes consists of 22 autosomes and 1 sex chromosome. So that is this is making a distinction that we didn't necessarily make in living environment. Previously we said that all haploid cells in humans contain 23 chromosomes. We didn't really define what types of chromosomes they were. So it's 1 sex chromosome and 22 autosomes. So when they come together, we'll have 44 autosomes and 2 sex chromosomes from when you combine the 2 sets from the parents. So in an unfertilized egg, the sex chromosome will always be X because it came from the female. So a female has the XX combination. So when meiosis occurs and it creates gametes, the only possible sex chromosome that can go into those gametes are X. But a male is XY, so it has an X or a Y that it can contribute to the next generation. So a sperm cell can have X or Y. Fertilization, of course, is the union of gametes, which are the sperm and the egg, and the fertilized egg is called the zygote, which has 1 set of chromosomes from each parent. So a zygote is diploid. It's the first stage of life in which the organism is diploid. Then all of the somatic cells are produced by mitosis from that zygote. At sexual maturity, ovaries and testes start to produce haploid gametes that's regulated by hormones in the body, and the gametes are the only types of human cells that are produced by meiosis rather than mitosis, which is why we spell it M-E sperm egg cis. Meiosis results in 1 set of chromosomes in each gamete, and then fertilization and meiosis alternate in sexual life cycles so that we can maintain the chromosome number of the species. Would you like further explanation on that? So we've got a human being that has 2n in all of its cells. Okay? If that human being were to, currently what the human beings do is through meiosis they produce a haploid number of cells, or n cells. So when you have n from the sperm plus n from the egg, n plus n gives you 2n, or diploid cells. However, if meiosis did not occur, what would happen is you would have 2n cells combining with 2n cells, because all of the other cells are produced by mitosis, which would result in a diploid number. Well, it would result in 4n, so 4 sets of chromosomes in a cell rather than 2. That would be horrendous. So what this is basically saying is that you must have diploid cells reduce to haploid cells, and then the haploid cells combine to produce diploid cells, which grow into an organism, which then must produce a haploid cell, so that the haploid cell can combine with another haploid cell to create a diploid cell, which grows into an organism, and the cycle continues over and over and over again. And here it is in a picture. So note female and male. The males produce their sperm in the testes, the females produce their eggs in the ovaries through the process of meiosis, which creates sperm and egg. Both of them are haploid, as you can see from N, and the haploid gametes N equals 23 in humans only. When fertilization occurs, the sperm and the egg come together, they fuse or unite, forming a diploid cell, which is 2N, which then grows through mitosis and development to form humans, and this goes on and on and on and on and on until the extinction of human beings. So that's what happens in humans, and it's common to all organisms that reproduce sexually. But there are three main types of sexual life cycles that are going to differ on the timing of meiosis and fertilization. And I think that before we go on to discuss the variety of sexual life cycles, I'm going to pause here because we're not going to be able to complete our lecture if we start there. So this seems like an